So hello and welcome to Let's Talk SEO. And apparently Google has, or Google's liaisons more importantly, have responded to the previous Google leak, or the warehouse leak, or the warehouse API leak, as some people like to call it. And what they're saying is very interesting, is because they're saying a lot of stuff, but without meaning anything. So there's a lot of words, but there's no meaning to it. So if there's a TLDR of this video, is that Google's liaisons have no idea what they're talking about, and I'm gonna actually dissect what they're saying on Twitter, and just try to show you that even though they try to give you advice, they really don't know anything. And if they know something, they're trying to be super elusive. They're trying to make it so that whatever they say is cryptic, and you have to go through put whatever they say through a machine learning program to try and figure out exactly what they mean, because what they say is not exactly what they mean, or the meaning that people that are responding to their comments are deriving from. So as with everything Google, it's highly deceptive, and so you have to take what they say with a grain of salt, or read between the lines to try and figure out what exactly they're trying to convey, because it's not easy. So here's a bit of background for people who don't know. So some time back, maybe a few days back, Google responded to the warehouse leak. It said, very cryptically, that the leak doesn't really reflect what we do, and a lot of the stuff is outdated, and people should not take the leak out of context. Now, I don't know what context Google is talking about, but as SEOs, we know that there are literally hundreds of signals that Google is looking at when it comes to ranking a page. So it's not specifically clicks to a page, or backlinks to a page, or the domain authority, or anything like that. It's an amalgamation of various signals, but there are some signals that hold more weight than others. So for instance, having backlinks holds more weight than just having a great title tag. And the title tag, most people might find this rather interesting. The title tag isn't as important as your technical SEO. And so you can have the best title tag, but then if your website has index bloat, then you probably will have a problem getting that page ranked, or if it is not siloed correctly, or if the internal links are not correctly done, or even if your page is not getting clicks. So if it's not getting clicks, people are not coming on your page, that amazing title tag is of no use. So let's get into and try to break down and decrypt what Google's liaisons are trying to tell us. And I'm not going to take names here, but I'll just leave the names for you guys to figure out. So all right, so beyond looking at keywords, our system also analyzes if content is relevant to a query in other ways. We also use aggregated and anonymized interaction data to assess whether search results are relevant to queries. We transform the data into signals that help our machine learning systems better estimate relevance. Just think, when you search for dogs, you likely don't want a page with the word dogs on it 100 times. With that in mind, algorithms assess if the page contains other relevant content beyond the keyword dogs, such as pictures of dogs, videos, and even a list of breeds. Now, here's what most people might not figure out when they read this, is what he's saying here is our system also analyzes if content is relevant to a query. So whenever you put in a query, Google is comparing that query to a list of queries. And so dog will be compared to a list of queries that are similar to dog. So not everyone would have entered dog. So let's say 50% of people enter the word dogs to try and find something, but then they didn't find what they were looking for when they use the keyword dog. So they use bulldogs, or they use the term Great Danes, or they use the term Shih Tzus. And what Google does is Google relates those breeds that people search for with the original query, which is dogs, and Google says, all right, so people who search for dogs were actually looking for these breeds. And so these breeds are connected to the word dogs. And so over time, what happens is that the machine learning algorithm would then associate these keywords with the word dogs and turn that into a ranking signal. And so whenever someone has information about Shih Tzus, Great Danes, Saint Bernards, whatever, Google understands that when people are searching for the word dogs, they're searching for these breeds of dogs. Now, conversely, if someone is searching for dogs was actually looking for dog food or dog trainers, then Google would associate a list of trainers or a list of food brands to the word dogs, which is not happening. So it's learning from users' input and intent. And so that's where intent positioning comes in. If you have the best, most optimized website, but it does not target the intent correctly, and it doesn't meet the intent that Google has classified for that keyword, then you're not gonna rank. And that's the ranking signal that this Google Liaison is hinting to. And so he says here, we transform that data into signals that help our machine learned systems better estimate relevance. So that is how it's estimating relevance. And there's a hint here too. There's another hint here, but as a matter of fact, just think when you search for dogs, you likely don't want a page with the word dog in it, which used to be how Google's algorithm works. So keyword density is not important, but keyword relevance in association with relevant keywords. And that's where the whole semantic SEO thing has come from, because it's been around for a very long time. So semantic SEO is not new. It's just that it has Google's semantic understanding of keywords has improved over time. Semantic SEO in itself has not changed a lot or fundamentally changed. And so any guru who tells you, why write 500 articles on the word dogs to rank for some obscure dog breed doesn't know what they're talking about, because that is not how this works. So here's a screenshot of, how this relevance, I have a link, I'll put this link in the description. So this is how Google talks about how results are automatically generated, and it goes into the key factors. Now, I must say here that Google is being cryptic about it. If you read this from a layman's perspective, you're not going to really understand much about this, even though it's written in very easy to understand language, because Google is being cryptic about how the algorithm works, and it's not in its entirety. So it just focuses on, just a few things like relevance of content, quality of content, usability of web pages, context and settings. But then there's also relevance of domain, then domain authority, and then also internal relevance. So how you're passing relevance from within your website. So all of that matters. And I'm not going to go into all of that, but I'll drop a link here in the description for you guys to visit this and read it and try to figure out what's going on. I already read this like a gazillion times, so I'm not going to go through this again. So then someone responded, if the HCU nav boost, whatever you want to call it, is clicks user reaction based, how could sites hit by HCU ever hope to recover if we're no longer being served to Google readers? Users vote with their feet. Okay, I've changed my whole site, let them vote. Now, so this is a very new question, because what they're saying is that if we're not getting clicks, then how are we going to rank in the first place? Well, if we're not getting clicks, then there are a gazillion other factors that Google is going to factor in. Google is going to test your SERP against other SERPs in terms of performance. It's going to try and figure out how relevant it is. It takes time. So you're not going to see results in the next 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, depending on, how hard you were hit by the HCU, why you were hit by the HCU update. And if you're a brand new domain, you're looking at 7 to 8 months before Google tries and figures out what your website does and how well it does it as compared to other websites. So you're going to move up gradually, and then there's going to be jumps in your rankings as Google has a better understanding of your website as a whole and that page in your website's ecosystem. So it's not just 3 or 4 months, but sometimes it can take up to a year. The more websites that there are in this industry and the more people that are optimizing for it, the harder it is and the longer it takes. So the Liaison responded appropriately. He said, if you think further about this type of belief, no one would ever rank in the first place if that were supposedly all that matters, because how would a new site, including your site, which would have been new at some point, ever been seen? The reality is we use a variety of factors. So then they are a variety of factors, and that's totally understandable. And then there's another thing. She responds again. She says, can you please tell me if what I'm doing is right by focusing on my site and content, writing new articles to be found through search, or if I should be focusing on offsite efforts related to building a readership. It's frustrating to see traffic to go down the more effort I put in, as I've said before. So Google Liaison responds. I think everyone should focus on doing whatever they think is best for their readers. I know it can be confusing when people get lots of advice from different places, and they also hear about these things Google is supposedly doing. Well, Google is doing a lot of things, and it's not allegedly or supposedly. I think the leaks kind of clarified exactly what Google is doing. Well, what he's not telling her is that as a new site or a site that's been hit, she's looking into doing a lot of work. And one of the things that you should do if you're a new site is you shouldn't rely on just Google ranking your site. You should be doing social media work as well to try and get clicks and traffic to your site. The more relevant clicks and traffic you can get to your site from social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook, the much sooner Google start to understand who your audience is, and in my experience, rank you sooner rather than later. So that is something that you should incorporate into your SEO strategy. And then, there's another response. Again, Google is being cryptic. Like, Google Liaison doesn't give her anything of substance. He doesn't tell her, he's asking about traffic. He's not responding about that. And then, so it's really like Google is playing this cat and mouse game. They're trying to respond and they're not responding. So they're saying a lot of words and nothing is coming out. So be mindful of that. If your website is new, if your website is untested, you're not going to rank. If you've been hit by an SEO update, you think you're going to rank, to start re-ranking after you've changed everything in the next 3-4 months, not going to happen. If your website has been in a downward spiral for the past year and you think that 3 months of SEO work is going to bring it back to where it was prior to it going into a downward spiral, it's not going to happen, because there's many things that need to be done on the site, and then there are many things that need to be done off-site. And if those things are not put in place, you're not going to recover the site. And even if you put all of those things in place in one day, Google just isn't going to respond to it as soon as you think it is. So just Google response to whatever changes you make takes a couple of months. So you're not going to see any results. So that's it for me, folks. Like and subscribe as always. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Google Liaison trying to respond to this kind of criticism. Like and subscribe as always, and I will see you in the next video.